What if I told you there's a place where birds walk on water, hunt like crocodiles, and scream like dinosaurs? Welcome to the Pantanal, South America's wildest wetland, and probably the most bird-packed place on the entire planet. We're talking toucans with clown-colored beaks, storks taller than your little cousin, and parrots so blue they make the sky jealous. This isn't the Amazon. This is something bigger, wetter, and wilder. The Pantanal stretches across Brazil, Bolivia, and Paraguay. A giant flooded plain that turns into bird paradise every wet season. And hidden in this watery jungle, some of the strangest, brightest, and least believable bird species you'll ever meet. But here's the catch. The Pantanal is changing fast. So what happens when the world's birdiest wetland starts to dry up? Stick around, because today we're counting down 15 incredible birds that live, thrive, and sometimes even nap while standing on lily pads. Right here in the Pantanal, some are massive, some are ridiculous, and one of them just might spear a fish before you blink. Let's dive in. If the Pantanal had a king, it would wear feathers made of cobalt lightning and crack nuts with its face. Meet the Hyacinth macaw, the biggest, boldest, and bluest parrot on Earth. This bird is over 3 feet long, with a wingspan wider than your average beach umbrella. Its feathers shimmer deep blue with a touch of violet, and its face is highlighted with a bright yellow ring around the eyes, like it's wearing custom tropical eyeliner. But the real power move? That beak. It can crush Brazil nuts, snap branches, and politely dismantle your furniture if given the chance. Fun fact, the Hyacinth macaw has the strongest beak of any parrot. Pound for pound, it's like the parrot version of a hydraulic press. You'll find it gliding above the Pantanal's savannas and woodlands, often flying in noisy pairs or small family groups. They mate for life, which is adorable, and slightly intimidating when you hear both birds screaming in unison at 6 a.m. Their diet? Mostly palm nuts, especially from the acuri and bocaiuva palms. And they've even figured out how to eat the ones cattle can't digest, waiting for cows to poop them out first, then going in for the softened prize. Yes, that's right. These parrots are palm nut recyclers with perfect teeth. But here's the twist. Despite their size and flash, Hyacinth macaws are in serious trouble. They've been heavily targeted by the illegal pet trade. And their dependence on certain palm trees means that as ranching expands and forests shrink, their food and nesting sites are vanishing. They're now listed as vulnerable, with wild populations hanging on mostly in the Pantanal and a few protected areas. So here's your question. If a bird this big, this loud, and this beautiful can still disappear quietly, what else are we losing without noticing? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Up next, we swap royal blue for scarlet red and meet a bird that turns the rainforest into a flying sunset. If the Pantanal had a king, it would wear feathers made of cobalt lightning and crack nuts with its face. Meet the Hyacinth macaw, the biggest, boldest, and bluest parrot on Earth. This bird is over 3 feet long, with a wingspan wider than your average beach umbrella. Its feathers shimmer deep blue with a touch of violet, and its face is highlighted with a bright yellow ring around the eyes, like it's wearing custom tropical eyeliner. But the real power move? That beak. It can crush Brazil nuts, snap branches, and politely dismantle your furniture if given the chance. Fun fact, the Hyacinth macaw has the strongest beak of any parrot. Pound for pound, it's like the parrot version of a hydraulic press. You'll find it gliding above the Pantanal's savannas and woodlands, often flying in noisy pairs or small family groups. They mate for life, which is adorable, and slightly intimidating when you hear both birds screaming in unison at 6 a.m. Their diet? Mostly palm nuts, especially from the acuri and bocaiuva palms. And they've even figured out how to eat the ones cattle can't digest, waiting for cows to poop them out first, then going in for the softened prize. Yes, that's right. These parrots are palm nut recyclers with perfect teeth. But here's the twist. Despite their size and flash, Hyacinth macaws are in serious trouble. They've been heavily targeted by the illegal pet trade. And their dependence on certain palm trees means that as ranching expands and forests shrink, their food and nesting sites are vanishing. They're now listed as vulnerable, with wild populations hanging on mostly in the Pantanal and a few protected areas. So here's your question. If a bird this big, this loud, and this beautiful can still disappear quietly, what else are we losing without noticing? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Up next, we swap royal blue for scarlet red and meet a bird that turns the rainforest into a flying sunset. If tropical birds had a fashion show, this one would arrive late, make a dramatic entrance, and still win best dressed. Say hello to the blue and yellow macaw, a bird that looks like someone spilled a can of paint on a jet engine. Vibrant turquoise blue up top, sunset yellow down below, and a giant curved beak that could snap a broomstick in half. These parrots are all about drama, from their wardrobe to their voices. Their calls sound like someone twisting metal, loud, raspy, and weirdly charming once you get used to it. Fun fact, blue and yellow macaws have been known to laugh, not like a human giggle, but a kind of chuckling sound when playing or bonding. Yep, this bird brings both looks and vibes. In the Pantanal, they glide over wetlands and forest edges, usually in pairs or small family groups. They feed on fruits, nuts, and seeds, but they're picky. They've got strong beaks and stronger opinions. They also love tall trees for nesting, especially dead palms with hollow centers. It's like their version of a luxury condo. But here's the twist. Even though they're not as rare as the hyacinth macaw, they still face many of the same threats: deforestation, habitat fragmentation, and capture for the illegal pet trade. They're loud and beautiful, but sometimes being loud and beautiful just makes you easier to find. And get this, macaws can live up to 50 years in the wild. That's a long time to dodge bulldozers and bird catchers. So here's your question. Can we protect something that shines so bright before that brightness fades for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Next up, we leave the treetops behind and head to the water to meet a bird taller than a child with a beak built like a battle axe. Okay, imagine a bird with the height of a 10-year-old, the swagger of a runway model, and a beak the size of your forearm. That's the Jabiru stork. And yes, it's just as impressive as it sounds. This bird is gigantic, standing up to 5 feet tall with a wingspan over 8 feet. It's basically a feathered glider with legs. Its body is white, but its head and neck are jet black, with a bright scarlet throat pouch that inflates when the bird gets excited. Honestly, it looks like it's permanently wearing a black turtleneck and just finished eating a cherry slushie. Fun fact, the name Jabiru comes from a Tupi-Guarani word meaning swollen neck, which, yeah, checks out. Jabirus are found wading through the Pantanal's wetlands, standing motionless like statues 1 second, then snapping up fish, frogs, and baby caimans the next. Yes, baby caimans. This bird doesn't mess around. They often nest in huge stick platforms at the tops of trees, reusing the same nest year after year. And here's the sweet part. The male and female take turns sitting on the eggs, and both parents help raise the chicks. Power couple goals. But here's the twist. Despite their size and strength, Jabirus are vulnerable to the same old villains: wetland destruction, pollution, and climate change. As parts of the Pantanal dry out or get developed, feeding and nesting grounds are disappearing. And for a bird that needs a lot of space and a lot of fish, that's a problem. So here's your question. When even giants start going silent, how loud do we need to be to save them? Let us know in the comments. Next up, a bird that looks like it was designed by a watercolor artist, with a beak shaped like a spoon and feathers dipped in cotton candy. All right, imagine a flamingo went on a watercolor retreat, grew a ladle for a beak, and said, "Yeah, this is my final form." That's the roseate spoonbill. With its soft pink and white feathers, bright red eyes, and a bill shaped exactly like a spoon, this bird looks like it was painted by someone who ran out of logic but had a full palette of pastel. When it takes off, its wings flash deep pink and coral, turning the sky into a moving sunset. On land, it wades gracefully through shallow wetlands, swinging that spoonbill side to side through the water like it's stirring soup. Fun fact, the spoonbill's bill is actually loaded with sensors, so it doesn't just scoop randomly. It detects tiny vibrations from shrimp, insects, and crustaceans, even in murky water. It's like sonar, but with style. They feed in small groups, often moving in unison, a ballet of synchronized pink fluff. And yes, they get that color from their food, just like flamingos. The more carotenoid-rich shrimp they eat, the pinker they get. But here's the twist. That soft, elegant look hides a tough reality. The roseate spoonbill was almost hunted to extinction in the 1800s. Not for food, but for fashion. Their feathers were prized for hats, fans, and accessories. Think Victorian-era bird crime. Today they're protected, but their future is still tied to the fate of the wetlands. Pollution, water mismanagement, and climate shifts can disrupt their food sources and nesting sites fast. And while they bounce back in some areas, places like the Pantanal are critical strongholds. So here's your question. If nature gives us a masterpiece this delicate, do we know how to keep it from fading? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Coming up, a bird in all white, tall, elegant, and deadly precise. It's graceful, it's ghostly, and it can snatch a fish like it owes it money. Imagine standing by the water at dawn, a light mist over the marsh. Then suddenly, a flash of pure white cuts through the silence. That's the great egret, tall still, and dressed like it's attending a wedding every day. This bird is the embodiment of elegance, until it strikes like a ninja. With its long neck folded like a spring, it can unleash a lightning-fast stab into the water to catch fish, frogs, or anything small and unfortunate enough to be nearby. It hunts with slow, deliberate steps, like it's stalking a secret, or rehearsing for a very quiet interpretive dance. Fun fact, the great egret has a wingspan up to 5 feet, but weighs less than 3 pounds. That's like a ballerina with a glider's reach. In the Pantanal, you'll spot them near lagoons, rivers, and marshes, usually standing perfectly still, just waiting. And then, bam, fish acquired. No noise, no mercy. Their pure white feathers are more than just pretty. They almost got the species wiped out. Here's the twist. In the 1800s, great egrets were hunted relentlessly for their plumes, especially their long, feathery aigrettes used in women's hats. At one point, those feathers were worth more than gold. And yeah, it was as bad as it sounds. Some estimates say over 95% of the North American population was wiped out. Here's the twist. In the 1800s, great egrets were hunted relentlessly for their plumes, especially their long, feathery aigrettes used in women's hats. At one point, those feathers were worth more than gold. And yeah, it was as bad as it sounds. Some estimates say over 95% of the North American population was wiped out. The massacre was so bad, it helped spark the modern conservation movement. In fact, the great egret is now the symbol of the National Audubon Society because it nearly disappeared and came back. Today, it's protected and relatively stable, but it still depends on healthy wetlands to survive. No clean water, no hunting grounds. So here's your question. When a species has already survived fashion trends and extinction, shouldn't keeping its home safe be the easy part? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Next up, the great egret's smaller, sassier cousin with golden slippers, sharp reflexes, and the attitude of someone who just got cut in line. Okay, if the great egret is elegance and grace, then the snowy egret is its feisty little cousin with better accessories. Same all-white look? Check. Long black legs? Check. But here's the twist. This bird rocks bright yellow feet, like it's wearing custom Crocs to a red carpet event. And those yellow feet, they're not just a fashion statement. Fun fact, snowy egrets actually wiggle their toes in the water to stir up prey. Tiny fish and shrimp think it's just another water plant, until bam, strike, splash, snack. These birds are smaller and lighter than great egrets, but way more animated. They don't wait patiently. They dart, dash and dance through shallow waters, flaring their wings and zigzagging like feathered figure skaters. You'll see them solo or in small flocks, often hanging out near cattle or capybaras because, well, disturbed bugs, checkers' easy lunch. Their long necks and dagger-like beaks make them efficient hunters, but their real power? Attitude. They're not shy. They'll squawk, posture, and even steal food from other birds. 1 minute elegant, the next full-on street fighter. But here's the twist. Like their larger cousins, snowy egrets were also victims of the 19th century feather trade. Their fancy head plumes were in high demand, especially during breeding season when they grow long, lacy feathers down their backs. They were hunted nearly to extinction, so people could decorate hats in New York and Paris. Today they've bounced back, but they still need healthy wetlands and safe nesting sites. And with the Pantanal's changing climate, seasonal fires, and water pollution, their beautiful buggy buffet could disappear fast. So here's your question. If a bird can strut like a model and hunt like a ninja, doesn't it deserve more than a disappearing stage? Tell us what you think in the comments. Coming up next, we leave fashion behind and enter the beak zone with a bird that looks like it swallowed a paintball gun and came out cooler than ever. All right, imagine a bird with a beak so big it looks like it was photoshopped onto the wrong body. Meet the Toco toucan. Its massive orange bill is nearly half the length of its body, but this bird is surprisingly lightweight, agile, and way cooler than physics says it should be. The Toco toucan is the largest of all toucan species and probably the most recognizable. With its jet black feathers, bright white throat, and that oversized neon orange bill tipped in black, it looks like a tropical fruit bowl turned into a bird. Fun fact, despite its size, the toucan's beak is mostly hollow, made of keratin and supported by a spongy structure. So yes, it looks heavy, but it's actually light as a banana peel. You'll find Toco toucans perched in the trees of the Pantanal, often in pairs or small family groups. They hop between branches, use that comically huge bill to pluck fruits, especially figs, and even reach deep into tree holes that other birds can't access. And they're not just pretty faces. Their bills also help with thermoregulation. They can control blood flow to their beak to release heat. Basically, they use their face as a radiator, stylish and functional. But here's the twist. Toucans play a huge role in seed dispersal, meaning they help forests grow, eat fruit, fly away, poop seeds, grow trees. They're flying gardeners. And in ecosystems like the Pantanal, that's a big deal. However, deforestation and illegal pet trade still threaten their populations. They're sometimes captured and sold as exotic pets, even though they're wild, loud, and frankly, not meant to be roommates. Plus, loss of fruiting trees due to land clearing? That's like removing every grocery store in town. So here's your question. If a bird helps plant the future, shouldn't we help protect its present? Tell us what you think in the comments. Next up, we stay near the water to meet a bird with giant feet, a wobbly walk, and a name that sounds like a salsa dance move. Okay, picture this. A bird with toes so long, it looks like it's wearing clown shoes designed by a water lily. Say hello to the wattled jacana, the high stepper of the wetlands. This bird isn't very big, but its feet are enormous, like comically oversized. Why? So it can walk on floating plants like lily pads without sinking. That's right, nature made a bird that moonwalks on water. Its body is sleek and black, with a chestnut back, bright yellow wing spurs, yes, actual spurs, and a red facial shield that looks like a superhero mask made of wax. Fun fact, the wattled jacana is polyandrous, meaning one female mates with multiple males, and then makes them do all the work. The males build the nest, incubate the eggs, and raise the chicks, while the female flies off to date the next guy. Yeah, role reversal done right. You'll see them in marshes, shallow lakes, and wetlands all across the Pantanal, stepping carefully across floating vegetation, picking off insects and tiny aquatic critters. They're surprisingly vocal too, letting out sharp, metallic, creak calls as they patrol their lily pad kingdoms. But here's the twist. Even though they look like they're living the chillest life on water, their homes are incredibly fragile. Floating plants depend on clean, stable water conditions, Pollution, invasive species, and agricultural runoff can collapse the entire ecosystem beneath their feet. Literally. And since jacanas nest low in vegetation, even a minor flood or change in water levels can wipe out entire broods overnight. So here's your question. If evolution built the perfect bird for walking on water, shouldn't we at least keep the water clean? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Coming up, a kingfisher with a punk haircut, a royal name, and a hunting style that makes fish regret all their life choices. You know that one friend who's loud, flashy, and always lands a perfect dive at the pool? That's the ringed kingfisher. This bird is bold, brilliant, and built for one thing: snatching fish out of water like a feathered torpedo. It's the largest kingfisher species in the Americas. With a stocky blue-gray body, a rusty orange belly, a white collar that gives it the ringed name, and a shaggy crest that screams, "I don't care what you think, I'm fabulous." Fun fact, kingfishers have special eye adaptations that let them see perfectly underwater. They even adjust for refraction, so what looks like a fishy illusion to us is lunch to them. You'll find ringed kingfishers perched solo on overhanging branches above rivers, creeks, and oxbow lakes. They sit perfectly still, eyes locked on the surface. And then, bam! They dive headfirst, wings tucked tight, beak first like a living spear. They come up flapping, shaking water off like a wet dog, fish dangling from their bill. And if you're lucky, you'll catch them whacking it against the branch before swallowing it whole. Savage, stylish, efficient, and loud. These birds have a sharp, rattling call you'll hear echoing across the Pantanal's open water. It's like nature's version of a dirt bike starting up. But here's the twist. As rivers get clogged with pollutants, sediments, and dam flows, fish populations crash. And when the fish go, so do the kingfishers. Even apex hunters need healthy food webs. And in ecosystems like the Pantanal, one species going down can drag the whole system with it. So here's your question. If a bird relies on clean, fish-filled water to survive, are we doing enough to keep that world alive? Tell us your take in the comments. Next up, we go underwater. Kind of. Meet the bird that swims like a snake, dries off like Dracula, and literally has to spread its wings just to avoid drowning. If Batman had a bird sidekick, this would be it. Meet the anhinga, also known as the snake bird, because when it swims, only its long, S-shaped neck rises above the water, making it look like a serpent stalking its prey. The name anhinga actually comes from the Tupi language meaning devil bird. Cool, creepy, accurate. This sleek, black water bird is built like a silent assassin. It doesn't splash, it doesn't flap. It just glides underwater using its webbed feet, eyes locked on unsuspecting fish. Fun fact, unlike most water birds, the anhinga's feathers aren't waterproof. That means it can dive deeper and swim silently without floating back up, but it also means it gets soaked every time, which is why you'll often see anhingas perched on logs or branches, wings stretched wide, Dracula style, drying off in the sun. It's dramatic, it's iconic, it's also necessary, because if they stay wet too long, they literally can't fly. They hunt like underwater snipers, impaling fish with their sharp beaks in a lightning-fast thrust, then flipping them in the air to swallow headfirst. And they're patient, sometimes swimming silently for minutes, only popping up when they're ready to strike or breathe. But here's the twist. Because they rely on clear, fish-rich waters, anhingas are incredibly vulnerable to water pollution and ecosystem collapse. Muddy runoff, agricultural chemicals, or even too many invasive species can turn their underwater hunting grounds into biological deserts. And since they depend on both water and trees, they get hit from all angles when wetlands are drained, burned, or developed. They don't migrate much. They don't scream for attention. They just disappear, quietly, when their world vanishes. So here's your question. When a species survives by adapting to both air and water, but can't control what we do to either, how long can it last? Tell us in the comments. Next up, another wetland specialist. This one's got a croaky voice, dark feathers, and a whole lot of fish breath. All right, imagine a bird that looks like it just got out of a grunge band rehearsal, smells like fish, and is totally okay with it. That's the neotropical cormorant, sleek, shadowy, focused. It doesn't care about looking pretty, it cares about catching dinner. This all-black waterbird has a long neck, dagger-like bill, and piercing green eyes that seem to say, "Yeah, I see that fish. It's mine now." Fun fact, unlike ducks or herons, cormorants don't have oily waterproof feathers. Why? Because that allows them to sink faster and chase fish underwater with minimal resistance. Basically, they're the torpedoes of the bird world. You'll find them all across the Pantanal, perched like statues on branches over the water, often with their wings spread wide, drying off like their cousin the anhinga. But while anhingas hunt with stealth, cormorants chase. They'll dive deep, paddle hard, and twist mid-chase to snatch fish with laser precision. They often hunt in groups, driving fish into tight corners, like an underwater SWAT team, with feathers. And while their feathers get them soaked, they dry out quickly in the sun, which is why you'll constantly see them standing motionless, wings out like Gothic lawn ornaments. Here's the twist. Because they thrive in healthy aquatic systems, their presence is actually a great indicator of ecosystem health. But that also means when water quality drops, they vanish first. Pollution, overfishing, wetland drainage, any of those can wipe out local fish populations and the cormorants that depend on them. And yeah, people sometimes blame them for eating too many fish. But let's be honest, they're just doing what they were born to do. So here's your question. If a bird helps reveal what's wrong with a river, should we listen to the message or blame the messenger? Drop your thoughts below. Next up, we leave the water and hit the grasslands, where a bird that looks like a mini ostrich roams the open plains like it owns the place. All right, you've heard of ostriches. You've maybe seen an emu or two, but have you met their South American cousin, who's just as tall, but maybe a little more chill? Say hello to the greater rhea, the largest bird in the Americas, and quite possibly the most majestic, awkward jogger on the planet. It can grow up to 5 feet tall, 1.5 meters, weigh over 60 pounds, and run faster than you on your best cardio day, reaching speeds of up to 40 miles per hour, 60 kilometers per hour. Not bad for a bird that can't even fly. Covered in shaggy gray-brown feathers with a long neck, long legs, and big curious eyes, the greater rhea kind of looks like it's always trying to remember what it forgot. Fun fact, the males do all the parenting. One male builds a nest on the ground, attracts a harem of females, and then incubates dozens of eggs, sometimes up to 60. And yes, he also raises all the chicks. That's one busy bird dad. You'll spot them in the open grasslands and scrubby plains surrounding Pantanal, often moving in small groups, grazing on plants, insects, and the occasional small vertebrate. Their long legs are built for sprinting, and when spooked, they don't fly. They bolt. But here's the twist. Even though they're huge and fast, greater rheas are in trouble in many parts of South America due to habitat loss, poaching, and collisions with vehicles or fences. Agriculture is fragmenting the open spaces they need to roam, and in some areas, they're seen as pests, despite being totally harmless. They're also hunted for their meat, feathers, and eggs, which makes you wonder, how long can a 5-foot-tall flightless bird keep outrunning extinction? So here's your question. If size and speed aren't enough to keep a species safe, what is? Let us know in the comments. Next up, we return to the trees, where a hawk with a fiery collar and a fisherman's instinct waits, scanning the water for its next slippery snack. Some birds hunt from above, some birds hunt from below. This one, it hovers, stares, and strikes like a guided missile. Introducing the black-collared hawk, Pantanal's fiery fisher, with a dramatic wardrobe and a laser focus on lunch. It's not a huge raptor, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in style. Burnt orange body, jet black collar, chalk white head, and piercing dark eyes. Looks like it flew in from a medieval painting and just decided to stay. Fun fact, unlike many hawks that prefer dry land, the black-collared hawk is a wetland specialist. Its entire hunting routine revolves around water. You'll often spot it perched above rivers, ponds, or flooded forests, completely still, scanning for any twitch, splash, or ripple below. And when it sees a fish near the surface, whoosh! It dives feet first, talons wide, snatching prey from the water in one clean move, sometimes without even getting wet. Talk about finesse. It's a solitary hunter, often patrolling its territory quietly. And while it looks fierce, its call is surprisingly gentle, a soft, squeaky whistle that sounds like a rusty swing set. But here's the twist. Like many species in the Pantanal, the black-collared hawk depends on a delicate balance. Water levels, fish stocks, and tall trees for nesting all have to line up just right. So when droughts hit harder, or fires spread wider, or waterways are drained for agriculture, this raptor suddenly has nowhere to fish, nowhere to live, and no way to feed its young. And because it's a specialist, not a generalist, it can't just pack up and move elsewhere. The Pantanal is its home. So here's your question. If even top predators are vulnerable to environmental change, how fragile is the web holding everything together? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Next, we wrap up this avian safari with a bird that wears metallic feathers, honks like a trumpet, and looks like it walked out of a Renaissance painting, just with more neck. You know that one relative who shows up overdressed to every family event, but somehow pulls it off? That's the buff-necked ibis. This bird is a walking contradiction, part elegance, part goofball, and 100% Pantanal original. With its metallic bronze wings, ivory white back, long down-curved bill, and signature golden yellow neck, it looks like it's been dipped in turmeric and polished with sunlight. And that honk? Fun fact, the buff-necked ibis sounds like an angry goose with a brass section. Seriously, it honks, growls, and squawks in a way that says, "I look fancy, but I still know how to throw down." You'll find them wandering wet meadows, forest edges, and marshy fields, strutting through shallow waters like runway models late for a worm buffet. They use their long, curved bills to probe the mud for insects, frogs, snails, and whatever else looks snackable. Not picky eaters, just persistent ones. They usually move in pairs or small groups, and while they're not exactly rare, they're deeply connected to the Pantanal's seasonal rhythms. When the floods arrive, they follow the water. When the land dries out, they shift to higher ground. It's all about movement, adaptation, balance. But here's the twist. Even adaptable birds like this one are starting to feel the pressure. As wetlands are drained, forests cleared, and climate patterns shift, the timing of food, water, and nesting sites can fall out of sync. And when that happens, even a bird as chill as the buff-necked ibis can struggle to keep up. So here's your final question. If nature has its own rhythm, what happens when we mess with the beat? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you've made it to the end, thank you. You've just met 15 of the most spectacular, colorful, bizarre, and brilliant birds of the Pantanal. Some loud, some quiet, all one of a kind. And remember, this isn't just about birds. It's about wetlands, balance, and the web of life that connects everything. So if this video left you with a little wonder, a little awe, or just a sudden urge to Google how to birdwatch in Brazil, hit that like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your heart a little wilder.